My name is Scarlett, and I am a 37-year-old housewife without children. I work and combine both roles. Today is our 5th wedding anniversary, and it also happens to be my husband's birthday, Everett. Ever the same age as me. Ever is a charming salesman who works for a well-known company, where he is quite successful. However, his job often requires him to work long hours and host clients, so we rarely spend time together. Our wedding was a simple ceremony on a weekday, attended only by our closest family members and a few friends. We both had jobs that required working on weekends, which made it difficult to find a suitable date. Ever attached special importance to keeping our anniversary and his birthday simple. I asked him to come home earlier. I even took half a day off to prepare. I bought his favorite Wagyu steak, wine, and cake in a department store and set a beautifully decorated table. I was eagerly waiting for Everett's home care, but despite my repeated requests, he never showed up. Instead, I received a single email from him in which he wrote, "He has urgent work and would stay in the office." I was disappointed, but tried to be understanding. Since it was about work, I cleared away the rest of the dinner and went to bed. However, I did not get rid of my doubts, especially since he had told me that he was not so busy the next morning. I went to work as usual, but my messages on his phone remained unread and my calls unanswered. More and more worried, I called his office and was stunned when I learned that he had quit the day before and apparently accepted a job in a neighboring prefecture. I hadn't heard about it. I rushed home and noticed his shoes at the entrance. My heart raced when I entered his room and found him packing his things in a suitcase. "What's the matter?" I asked in shock and disbelief. "Average just cut his tongue and handed me the divorce papers," he said. "So you've already figured it out." "What's going on?" I asked in a voice trembling with shock. With a cold, emotionless look, he repeated my question before bluntly saying, "Let's get a divorce." "Why?" "For what?" I asked, still shaken by his sudden explanation. "I'm tired of you not fulfilling your role as a wife," he replied in a sharp, irreconcilable voice. "For you, work comes first. You hardly cook. You only do laundry once a week, and the house is always dusty. I don't need a woman like that." "Wait a minute," I protested, feeling how frustration had been coming over me for 2 years. "I cooked dinner and was waiting for you, but you always said that you had already eaten and refused to eat anything. That's why I stopped cooking. Nevertheless, it is the duty to cook and wait for a wife," he replied, rejecting my explanation. "Besides, you cook terribly." So I started eating out. I shuddered at the harshness in his voice as I remembered how he had always praised my cooking skills when we were newly married. In desperation, I reminded him that we had agreed at our wedding that I would do the laundry and clean on my days off Wednesday and Thursday. But he just rolled his eyes and scoffed. "I too am supposed to endure a dirty house from Friday to Tuesday. That's ridiculous. What happened to you all of a sudden?" I asked in amazement at his sudden change of attitude. "I never thought that you would want me to quit my job after 5 years of marriage when I got a new job offer. I saw it as the perfect opportunity," he said coolly. "An opportunity for a divorce." I was stunned. Aver had never complained about my work or my household before, and I hadn't noticed any signs that he was unhappy or thinking about ending our marriage. "You never noticed how dissatisfied I was," he said in his voice. "I understand. I don't need a woman like that. I rented an apartment near my new job. So I'm not going to come back here." With that, he pushed his way past me, who was standing in front of the door with his suitcase, and left the house. Without turning around, I stood there completely stunned and could not comprehend what had just happened. A week later, I attended my class reunion. I didn't really feel like going, but I had already paid the membership fee. In addition, I had not been able to reach Everett since that day, and my frustration grew with each passing day. I thought the class reunion might be a good way to clear my head as soon as I arrived. I saw that some of my classmates were divorced or single mothers, but they all led strong and resilient lives. Until then, I was just hoping to mend my relationship with Everett. But when I thought about it more carefully, I realized that in case of reconciliation, I would probably have to move with him to his new place of work. In this case, it would be impossible to keep my current job due to the long daily commute, even though it was only in the neighboring prefecture. After 10 years of work since my junior college graduation and a decent salary, it would be almost impossible to find a job with the same income at the new location. Everett had completely ruled me out, and I started to wonder if it was time to let him go. What made my decision final was a phone call from Everett urging me to move out. We had lived in a rented apartment where Everett was registered. The extension of the lease was approaching, and apparently the realtor had contacted him about it. I told them that we would move out in a month, and they should make sure that everything was cleared up. Then he said bluntly, "I still live here, and they didn't even ask me," I protested. His response was cold and dismissive. "I am the tenant. I don't need to ask her." At that moment, I knew that it was finally over. "I'll pack my things this weekend or next," I replied, feeling defeated. "Dispose of not only your things, but also everything that is left in my room and all the furniture," he added in a sharp voice. I was amazed at his audacity. "What are you talking about? You originally rented the apartment when you were still single, and most of the furniture has been here ever since. You bought the other furniture and appliances with your credit card. I take care of the disposal of the things that I mainly used, but you are responsible for getting rid of the rest and paying the disposal costs." I shot back without a word. He hung up. I couldn't believe how selfish he was. He took only what was dear to him and left it to me to clean up. This strengthened my determination to go through with the divorce. Over the weekend, I started sorting out the wardrobe and remembered the happy times we had spent together since our wedding. Among the items were things that belonged to both Everett and me. Looking through them, I came across his high school graduation album. I suddenly realized that all the friends Everett had introduced to me were from the time after his studies. Absent-mindedly, I was flipping through his graduation album and noticed something unexpected. I filed the divorce papers and informed Everett by email. A week later in the evening, received a response from him and a photo. The picture showed a marriage certificate with his name and that of another woman. I was stunned and stared at the display in disbelief when my phone rang. It was Everett. "Have you seen it?" he asked. "What does that mean?" I asked, still shocked. "It's just the way it looks," he replied casually. "I just got married and remarried this woman." "You're not serious," I said. "Incredible. She's incredibly beautiful, rich, and has a wonderful personality." He was fooling with the fact that she proposed to me as soon as our divorce is finalized. "This photo is the proof. Isn't it incredible?" "So you cheated on me when we were still married?" I asked with a trembling voice. "I'm popular, unlike you, who only has his job." He grinned derisively. "Oh yes, by the way, her father built us a house on her property, and I moved to her hometown with his help. It's a medium-sized company, but I'm an executive there." Everett obviously wanted to brag about his rich affair with his new marriage, but while he was talking, a wave of intense anger rose in me. He blamed me for the failure of our marriage and used this as an excuse to divorce me. But he could also remarry his affair. He admitted that they had been dating for over 2 years. They had met in a pub where he was with colleagues. She was one of 4 women sitting at a table nearby. Apparently, when Everett accidentally spilled his drink over himself, she had kindly wiped it off, which got their conversation going. "She is the same age as us, but she is incredibly beautiful and looks 10 years younger," he continued, as if he wanted to sprinkle salt in the wound. "She wiped my clothes with a pretty handkerchief, and when I invited her to dinner to say thank you, I learned that she was the daughter of a landowner. She had entered into an arranged marriage at the suggestion of her parents, but was dismayed by her husband's infidelity. After realizing that she needed to improve, she became a completely different person from you. I was immediately attracted to her," Everett explained, revealing that he had been aggressively stalking her. After that, she began dating Everett while she was still married to her husband, without getting a divorce. "Isn't it normal to question a woman who is dating 2 men and is supposedly devoted to her husband in the process?" I asked. But Everett, blind with love, had not noticed anything unusual. "Woman. He who does not support his man is worth nothing," he replied. "You put your work first and don't take care of your husband. You're just not the right one for me, so you can't stand on your own 2 feet and expect me to support you." I shot back and couldn't hold back my frustration. Even Average seemed irritated and replied, "Oh, I'm so glad that I'm finally free of a woman like you. Stella is the best." "Stella, is that her name?" I asked. Yes, it is written with the letters for double and flower, like double cherry blossoms. She was born when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. Her parents have a great taste when it comes to names. They are true celebrities, Everett said, and his voice is filled with admiration for their unique name. When I heard Ava raving about her like that, it clicked in my memory. Did you really marry such a wonderful woman? You're not lying, are you? I asked, and pretended to be impressed. Average Stoltz was hurt by this insinuation. She is the best wife with an impeccable family background and a great personality. Just look at her elegant beauty, he insisted, sending me a photo of the two at their wedding. There was no doubt that it was she. I had to laugh silently. What's so funny? This is proof that we really got married, Ava cried defensively. Sure it's real, I replied, struggling with my laughter. Hey, stop laughing. We really got married and she has a baby in her tummy, he added, visibly upset. What? Oh, no way, I said, and couldn't stop laughing. Oh, I understand. My loss must have driven you crazy, Everett said, interpreting my laughter as he pawed. Then he dreamily added, in 3 months, then wore a little girl. She will definitely be as beautiful as Stella. Well, even if she looks like you, she will still be beautiful. Everett has a cute, beautiful face like an idol. And for some reason, he suddenly got nervous and said, no, she doesn't have to look like me. When I heard that, I burst out laughing again. Just go crazy. Goodbye, Everett snapped before hanging up. At some point he will already find out why I laughed, and I cannot wait for this day. After that, we had some disputes about alimony and the division of property, but with the help of a lawyer, I managed to get a considerable compensation. Everett agreed to pay his share of the alimony, as he did not want to cause any emotional stress to Stella during her pregnancy. 2 years passed without contact, and then I finally received a desperate email from him. Please, Scarlett, I'm begging you. Please listen to me. I took the call that followed right after the email as I expected it was about the child he had with Stella. Well, children look like their parents, don't they? I said. Of course, who else should you look like? He answered nervously. Apparently, the little girl did not resemble the beautiful Stella at all. She's only 2 years old, isn't she? It will change a lot as it grows. However, I tried to calm him down. I noticed that he was not convinced, but found it strange that there was no similarity at all. And I suppose that he gave meaning. Doesn't the baby look like you? I asked myself and had to suppress my laughter. Ever suddenly panicked and burst out. No, she doesn't. But it's okay. It's okay that she doesn't look like me. He had secretly taken a DNA test to check if Stella had been unfaithful. But the results confirmed that both Everett and Stella were clearly the parents of the child. So there is no doubt that she is your child, I said. But Everett did not finish the conversation yet. Hey, when I told you 2 years ago that Stella was pregnant, you laughed a lot. You know what? He asked, urging me to an answer. Wow, he remembered that. Well, actually, I thought Stella and I went to the same high school and were in the same class. We were never in the same class in those 3 years, so I didn't know her well. But I remember that she was the daughter of a landlord and had a rather attractive, unpleasant personality. At a class reunion about 2 years ago, the topic of Stella's cosmetic surgery came up. Stella, with her solitary animals, the small eyes, the snub nose, and the slight overbite, was embarrassed because of her appearance. Apparently, after high school, she underwent several cosmetic procedures at a famous New York clinic. She wasn't at the class reunion, so I didn't see her in person. But a friend later sent me pictures of her transformation before and after. American plastic surgery is really incredible. When I told Everett about it, he didn't believe me at first, but then it hit him. He had never seen childhood photos or graduation albums of her. Was I mistaken? Damn, he muttered when he realized the truth. Stella had played the role of the sweet, demure woman during their relationship, but as it turned out, she had cheated on him several times and divorced him before worse things happened. Several of her ex-husband's wives had sued her for alimony. I'm going to confront her, Everett explained. Maybe you shouldn't, I suggest. Huh, why not? He asked, confused. Well, the kid doesn't look like you either, does he? Usually they say that girls resemble their fathers, I said, after which Everett fell silent. She can't look like you. You also underwent cosmetic surgery. How did you do that? He started, but I interrupted him. When I moved out of our apartment 2 years ago, I found your high school graduation album. You look like a completely different person, and I was shocked when I saw the album. I finally understood why he never introduced me to his college friends, insisted on a modest wedding, and invited only a few work colleagues. Avard had probably undergone cosmetic surgery during his studies and feared that his past would come to light from his old friends. I don't mind cosmetic surgery, I told him. But you have to keep in mind that your child might inherit your original facial features. What should I do now? Everett asked desperately. What do you mean by that? What should you do? Just be a normal dad. The DNA results confirm that the child is definitely from you. With that, I hung up and immediately blocked his number and email address. It's amazing how narrow-minded he is, just because the appearance of his child did not meet his expectations. A year later, a friend, whose child is the same age as Everett's daughter, showed me a photo of her little one who had just entered kindergarten. The child was adorable.